dear friends and fellow activists, we do not support the Palestinians because they're Palestinians. We do not oppose Israel because it is Israel. As I have repeated many times before, it doesn't matter what justifications or excuses criminals offer for their crimes, or how loud they shout. A crime is a crime. When human beings commit crimes against human beings, we stand with the victims. As someone who was born and raised in Israel, served in the military, and eventually renounced my Israeli citizenship in protest, I can confirm to you that the genocide you see is real. I can also confirm that if Israel is not stopped, it will attempt to complete the original Zionist plan, which is to remove all the Palestinians from historic Palestine by any means and replace them with what Israel defines as Jews. Settler colonialism is a crime against humanity. It is illegal to remove people from their land, to harm their children, to bomb them and to starve them. But Israel has a long track record of ignoring international law. The United Nations decision to recognize Israel as an independent state was immoral and was based on colonial principles. The world supports colonialism even now, despite the horrendous harm it has caused and the trauma it has inflicted. What we see in Gaza now is the continuation of the Nakba. It is not a byproduct of war or an instrument of war, as the shameless Guardian called it the other day. It is not a conflict or a war. The words conflict and war are used intentionally to conceal the reality of settler colonialism that the Palestinians have been forced to live with since the start of Zionism in the late 19th century, and certainly since the Nakba, almost 77 years ago. In recent months, respected international organizations, including Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, Doctors Without Borders, and the European Center for Constitutional and Human Rights, have all reached the same conclusion. Israel is committing a genocide in Gaza. Israeli scholars like Ilan Pappé and Avi Shleim have been speaking for decades about Israel's settler colonialism and warning about Israel's direction and intentions. Not long after October 7th, genocide scholars such as Raz Segal, Omer Bartov, and Amos Goldberg, all from Israel, have labeled what Israel is doing in Gaza a genocide. An internationally recognized Israeli historian, Lee Mordechai, an associate professor at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, has concluded that his country is committing a genocide in Gaza. He has compiled a vast, methodical report documenting a long list of war crimes committed since Israel's indiscriminate and devastating assault on Gaza. Israeli human rights organizations like B'Tselem have been reporting on Israel's settler colonialism for years, offering ample evidence of genocide. Breaking the silence, continue to collate first-hand testimonies of Israeli soldiers and officers who blow the whistle on the military's agenda and policies in Gaza and on what they witness their units do. If the goal were truly to understand and act on the truth, wouldn't politicians and media seek out voices like ours? We have first-hand knowledge. We speak Hebrew, served in the military. We know the inside workings of Israeli society. Yet our direct testimonies are ignored and dismissed while support for Israel continues unabated. This proves that the truth is not the priority. The real drivers behind the support for Israel are lust for money and power, political opportunism, and cowardice, inhumanity, and the selfishness of those in charge. There is nothing complicated about what Israel is doing. Settler colonialism and its associated crimes, including genocide, have long been recognized as crimes against humanity. Yet our governments are laughing in the face of international law and are aiding and abetting Israel's genocide. As Ilan Pappé says in a recent article on moral panic in the Palestine Chronicle, and I quote, "Ignoring the genocide in the Gaza Strip and the ethnic cleansing in the West Bank can only be described as intentional and not out of ignorance. Both the Israelis' actions and the discourse that accompanies them are too visible to be ignored. unless politicians, academics, and journalists choose to do so. The late Desmond Tutu said, "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." But our governments and media are not even pretending to be neutral. They openly flaunt their shameless criminal support for Israel, the perpetrator of a systematic and deliberate genocide. We may not have control over our media, but we did not vote politicians into power to enable genocide and break international law. Demonstrations and marches like this today enable us to show solidarity with Israel's victims and with one another in a hostile world. They also let our leaders and media know that large segments of our population are fed up with decades of silence, collusion, and indifference to the suffering of the Palestinian people. In addition to demonstrations and marches, the international BDS, Boycott, Divestment, Sanctions movement, is also calling upon us to stage massive walkouts. In their Nakba 77 call for actions, they ask, if you can, tell your employer, university, school, etc., why, and stage mass walkouts at a specified time. If you cannot, then call in sick of the horrible complicity that enables the genocide, or leave early to join mobilizations. Ilan Pape reminds us that the Palestinians do not have the luxury for Western moral panic to have its say or impact. Not caving in to this panic is one small but important step in building a global Palestine network that is urgently needed. Firstly, to stop the destruction of Palestine and its people, and second, to create the conditions for a decolonized and liberated Palestine in the future. Thank you all for being on the right side of history. Enough is enough.
Thank you, Abigail. Thank you for your words, and for Ken as well. Now we'd love to invite to the stage